Today I did my live stream from in front of Mary Magdalene's cave. Off in the distance was the caves, the high rocks. You have to go way up to get to the cave. It's quite a hike. I've been inside the cave, and this is their second time in, but the first time they went in the cave, they did not come out the same. These two met at La Casa de Milagros, and Amanda had a lot of mystical experiences after a movie showing The Young Messiah, and Jesus was talking to her constantly during the day. She couldn't sleep at night. She thought she was calling me, am I losing my mind? Jesus is just talking to me constantly, like, this is intense. And then Michael was there, and now they're off with a mystical community living on the side of a mountain north of Barcelona. But everybody knows Mary Magdalene, the story with Jesus. You know, she was there with him, and it was pretty dramatic to travel and be with someone for 3 years, and then to watch a crucifixion, surprise, resurrection, surprise, then gone again, surprise, and then eventually she went across the Mediterranean, and she taught for about 30 years at a Greek temple, and then she went and lived in this cave for the last maybe, 20 to 30 years of her life, just communing with Jesus and having a friar bring her some food and some water every once in a while, but just into deep silence and communion with Jesus for the last part of her life in this cave. And the beautiful thing of mysticism is that once you have one recognition, which is talked about by Jesus in the workbook, then suddenly your experience will start to move in the direction of gentleness. I think everybody would love gentleness, and the one recognition you have to move in that direction is, I can be hurt by nothing but my thoughts. People aren't really people. If you're upset with certain relationships or certain politicians or certain things that are happening in the world, you just haven't yet embraced the idea, I can be hurt by nothing but my thoughts. And of course, those are not the real thoughts. Those are just the attack thoughts. When you identify with attack thoughts, what would you expect? What would you expect? You would expect intensity, drama, conflict, fear, doubt, exasperation. And then when you start to realize that this world is a world of thought, and that your purpose is to forgive those thoughts and disengage from attack thoughts, then you move into what Jesus calls the workbook lesson 23. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. There it is right there. The first 22 lessons of the Course are just to present, voila, 23. I can escape the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. And that's what the mystical journey is about. So when I was doing the live today, I could see there was just so much joy and laughter and happiness, but it's turning the corner from trying to reconcile people or reconcile interpersonal relationships. If you still have a lot of that going on in your mind, that's because you just haven't recognized it's just thoughts, and you can let them go. You don't have to personally be the one that's going to reconcile the world by reconciling all these relationships that seem to be frayed. You have to just realize that it's just thoughts. And once you realize it's just thoughts, you can let it go. But until you recognize that, then it seems to be quite an interactive game show of drama. Always something happening. What's going on today? Where did that come from? Body, oh, thank you, body. What are you doing to me now? Body's like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just representing your thoughts and waiting for you to realize I can be hurt by nothing but my thoughts, and then to let them go. So, today I think we have a great Star Trek episode. Was it Strange New Worlds? That's what the series is. It's the latest. Star Trek and the whole series of Captain Kirk and on and on and on, and now we've got Strange New Worlds, and this is an episode that when we had our portals meeting the other day, I think, was that when I talked about it, or I talked about it one time recently. I've talked about, yeah, the portals meeting, and then also we want to tie it in and bring it into direct relationship of what you're going through during your experience at the monastery, because it can seem external at times. It can seem like there are people and things or situations or climate or heat or lots of things that rub you the wrong way, and then start to realize, oh, I can be hurt by nothing but my thoughts. I just have to be willing to look at the thoughts and then give them over to the Holy Spirit and let them go. And I know it's easier said than done, but it actually, once you start to really get into the rhythm of that, like, let's get going then. I want my mind emptied of attack thoughts. Bring the Holy Spirit vacuum cleaner in there and suck them up. Take them all. Take every last thought, because I don't want to hold on to a grievance. I don't want to hold on to a hurt, a pain. So, as a setup for this session, I think what comes to mind with this particular episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds is that it's got great themes of equality. There's a young cadet in this episode from Kenya who, I think the crew is kind of surprised to hear that she speaks multiple languages, and I think she ends up saying, "Oh yeah, I speak 37 languages," and they're all just like in disbelief that somebody speaks 37 languages. And even though she's a cadet, she's fairly new, she will be called upon by the Spirit to play a very important role. This just shows that there is really no such thing as beginner, intermediate, and advanced on the spiritual journey. No one is ahead, no one is behind. There is no scale of awakening. I think it's best expressed by Jesus in A Course in Miracles, where he says that you and your brother are in the same level of teaching and learning. You're in the same level, meaning that you're always teaching and learning in terms of your mind training, and it doesn't matter who the brother, who the sister is, you're always just teaching what you would learn. And you're never teaching down to somebody, or nobody's ever teaching down to you, because you're the Holy Christ. And the Holy Christ is not above or below, because it's just one. So even at the level of teachers and students, and even at the level of holy encounters and everything, Jesus is emphasizing that basically you're always teaching what you would learn, and that you're the teacher and the student, the teacher and the learner are always on the same level, and that level is, of course, the mind. Every single thought that you think, everything you think or say or do teaches all the universe without exception. So there is no one that's advanced and no one behind. That takes a lot of comparison out. You don't have to compare yourself. Even on the spiritual journey, that can be a big delay maneuver of comparison, because that has a lot to do with our past. In the past, there was a lot of comparison, and so that's just a bad habit that we need to drop. Jesus is saying, just drop it. It doesn't have any validity. It doesn't have any validity whatsoever. So, also, you can see in this episode that, because of course with Star Trek, to go where no man has ever gone, we're on the same journey. We're going where no man has ever gone. We're going into the light. And the light is where no man or woman has ever gone. Because those are just concepts that disappear as you approach the light. The light is one. The light doesn't know duality. The light doesn't know form or specifics. It's just abstract. So as they talk about it as going through the cosmos, exploring the cosmos, exploring new worlds. We're not so much interested in exploring new worlds, but we are interested in experiencing the real world. Jesus calls the happy dream, or the forgiven world. And that still is at the same level of all teaching and learning. So you could say that you have to keep teaching what you would learn, teach only love, for that is what you are, and then if you keep teaching love over and over and over and over and over, eventually you find yourself in the real world, or the happy dream, and then things are very quiet in that real world because there's no distinctions to be made. There's no better or worse. There's no above or behind. There's no any distinction. This just all merges together in experience of mind. So in this episode, they're watching a fairly, they're in their spacecraft, they're orbiting above a fairly what they call primitive planet. It doesn't have warp drive, it doesn't have a lot of the higher technologies, but the planet seems to be threatened by a big comet that is coming very close to the planet. And then in Star Trek, they run all their computer projections and analysis, and in their computer projections, the giant comet is going to clip the planet and bring about a huge explosion, which will be a catastrophic disaster for the planet. It will mean huge disruption, almost like if we had like a huge comet clipping the Earth, just clipping, hitting somewhere in the ocean and sending a big tidal wave of destruction. What was the movie we had? Don't Look Up, with Jennifer Lawrence. Some of you saw that was based on a Earth taking a direct hit, with Meryl Streep as president of the United States. Quite a comedy for forgiving the world, as she jettisons off to another planet only to be eaten by other creatures, which was forecast, which was naked. She was prophesized. Yeah. You know that this is our comedy on Earth. This is the kind of, you haven't seen that movie. It's pretty funny. But so the captain of the ship, Captain Pike, is basically doing what captains do. You know, he's concerned about the welfare of the millions of people, the inhabitants of the planet. He's concerned about the comet. He's wondering what to do. He's very open-minded, and he's quite a humorous captain, sometimes quite beautiful, childlike, and yet he's like open to his crew. Any options, what we should do here? He's not telling them, he's asking the crew, got any ideas? We got a planet that's about to be clipped by a comet. The only thing is nothing in this world is as it seems. Nothing at this monastery is as it seems. Nothing in the world is anything like it seems. It's just an enactment of a script, or a tiny mad idea that seems to be playing out in a script. And nothing in the script is what it seems to be. That's why it's so frustrating when we try to judge the script, or we try to make an assessment of who we are and where we are and what we need to watch out for and what we need to pursue, because we're looking at something, we're perceiving something that isn't anything like it seems to be. The world is not linear. The cosmos is not linear. Everything is happening simultaneously, but when it's perceived through linear time, there's lots of perceived problems. But those are just projections of the authority problem. They aren't real problems. There are no real problems, but they seem to be real problems every day. You seem to be hit with them in consciousness and confronted with the first one, and then another one, and then a whole set of problems every single day. And that's why it seems very tiring and also very exhausting and some people would say actually depressing, trying to interact with this world of time and space. Because it's egoic. If you're interacting with it and you're afraid of certain parts of it, you're proud of other parts of it, you want to get rid of some parts of it, and you want to embrace some parts of it. And Jesus is just saying, yeah, well, that's schizophrenic. That's really schizophrenic. You don't have a shot of peace of mind if you're just going to go about it trying to figure this world out. He says that you can't really understand an impossible situation, you can't figure it out, but you can forgive it. That's one thing you can do, and that's our purpose. So as we watch this, I want you to see in this episode how, as they move along, their assumptions about what's happening and what's needed, what do we need to do, what action do we need to take. The action that they believe they have to take in dealing with this comet and this planet is dependent on their own assumptions, right? That's what we're dealing with on time and space. Anytime we feel we have to take an action is because we believe an action is required based on the situation. And the captain in here, he is very proud of being a captain. He wants to be a good captain, and he wants to help the people. And if he can save millions of lives by doing something, he will do it. He will take action. Except the more we go into the episode, you're going to see he doesn't really know what's best. Like Jesus says in the early part of the workbook, in no situation do you perceive your own best interest. He doesn't say in some situations, he says in no situation do you perceive your own best interest. And that's what the crew's going to go through with this, because captain wants to do the right thing, crew wants to do the right thing, and then the more the episode goes along, they start just shaking their heads like, how are we going to do the right thing? What is the right thing? And that you've probably have felt that at different times of your life. Like, I want to do the right thing, but I have not a clue what the right thing is. And that's why we need guidance. We need momentary, moment-by-moment guidance to navigate through what seems to be an external world of time and space. So, everybody put on your imaginary Trekkie hats. We're going trekking again. After all these years, we're still trekking. Trekking at the monastery. And I'll pause it a little bit like I do with the movies, so to give you a little more commentary for context. Okay. You're in a room full of Starfleet. You don't know what your future holds, and she's not really sure if it involves Starfleet. And these are people that have dedicated their whole lives to Starfleet, to the concept of Starfleet. But you can see just from this opening scene of this cadet going there and being fooled by her co-worker, as a joke, you have to dress formal in your uniform, and then when she walks in, that's the first joke. But you can see the nuances Because what Jesus is teaching us is that in every situation, the only thing the situation is for is to teach who you are and learn who you are. Teach that you're the Christ and learn that you're the Christ. All the differences in rank mean nothing. All the differences in skills, like here's a cadet walking in, you speak different languages, 37, you see all the eyes look like 37 languages you speak, and a cadet. And here's Spock, even with the humor, they're telling jokes, and he's like, I don't see the humor in making fun of others' misfortunes. Seems impolite. He's the Vulcan, very logical with his ears. Everything's logic, 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 and they're trying to give him some context. Like sometimes things get so bad that you just have to laugh. And he, again, that doesn't compute. That doesn't follow my logic. Even, why would you laugh if it's so bad? He sees no laughter in that, and yet they're saying, yeah, this is how it is. So you can see just this opening scene, it's just all about unlearning everything, unlearning rank, unlearning position, unlearning politeness, unlearning etiquette, unlearning jokes and laughter. It's every situation is ripe with opportunities to let go of judgments. And when your identity is built on trying to react and respond in appropriate ways to fit into the situation, like she wants to fit in, and yet she's going around and she's humming. And the captain notices that she's humming, and she immediately starts to apologize for humming. There's nothing wrong with humming. She's just probably it's a happy thing that she's done her whole life. And she starts apologizing for it, and he's really curious. And then he asks the question that oftentimes, I'm sure he asked to many people, where do you see yourself in 10 years? For him, it's just a casual question. But you can see the captain has a reaction to his own question. He was really hit hard and taken aback by the words that came out. That's because this Captain Pike has had a premonition that in like 8 years he will die, and there will be cadets that die with him. So he just asked the question, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And then he probably thought, I'll be dead in 10 years, because he's had a premonition of his own death. So this is the first Star Trek generation or program where the captain has had a premonition of his own death, and he saw very clearly how he dies and who dies with him. And now we can see it's influencing him. What is it? Future thoughts. What are future thoughts? Attack thoughts. It's not about what would happen in the future. It's the belief that there is a future. that is an attack on God. Not in reality, but it's a belief that you can be concerned about something that God didn't create. God didn't create past, present, future. I'm talking about that on the Saturdays, that Jesus calls that one-dimensional time, past, present, future. And he's teaching us that that isn't reality, and that our addiction to believing in past, present, and future is the grievance. We've got an identity grievance going on, because God created us as an eternal being, and we're trying to play small, play past, present, future game. So that's how deep this time thing goes. And even here, the captain is just curious. He was very curious, and then he took a big hit when he said, where do you see yourself in 10 years? But he continued on, and in one sense, this is helping set things up, because this cadet from Kenya is going to play a key role in the whole episode. And yet she's brand new to Starfleet and to the ship. B, she doesn't really have a future goal. Imagine working in a corporation where you don't have a future goal and everybody there is bent on succeeding, achieving, making money, and you don't have a future goal. And she doesn't really identify with this whole Starfleet thing. That's saying that, wow, that's no private thoughts. In this context, they're all heavily invested in Starfleet. That's their whole life. They have cadets huge number of cadets that apply that don't make Starfleet. And here's one who made it and saying, Starfleet thing, I'm not so sure about it. Everyone's like, and saying it in front of the captain. How could you say that in front of the captain? And that's too, but how could you say it in front of the captain? You can see the judgments are swirling, and you can see where Jesus is taking your mind out of it all. Where in the end you don't, even with the Course in Miracles, you may say, I'm going to be a Course in Miracles for lifer, and then you get to 189, forget this world, forget this course, and come with open hands unto your God. You see, that's where this is going. So this is just a little mini scene at the beginning about how much trust it takes to let go of everything you believe and really just trust that you'll be guided and given what you need moment by moment. So that's big. He is very disturbed with what he saw in that premonition of his death, and he can recite the names of the cadets that die with him. And it bothers him because he's a captain to try to save lives. And that would be seen as a dark scenario to the ego, death, and then you also know the names of those who die with you. And she's basically bringing in this beautiful, she's the first officer, she's just saying, maybe it's not what you think. Maybe you're assuming more choice than you actually have, is what she's saying. And she's playing the Jesus part here in this scene. Jesus is saying, if you're thinking about your future, even if you have a premonition and you can see when you're going to die, the day you'll die, the circumstance and the situation, and the ones who will die as well, she's like saying, in one sense, she's basically saying, maybe you think you have more choice than you do. And she says, maybe there's another way. And that's the miracle. There's another way of looking at the world. Remember what Jesus says, the script is written. You can't change the script. At one point in the Course he says, there is no escape from what must occur. And people sometimes feel like confined by that. Oh my gosh, if the script is written and there's no escape from what must occur, they feel confined. But he's saying it, and he's saying, seek not to change the world, seek rather to change your mind about the world. Seek to change the way that you're looking at the world. Look at the world with me, he says, look at the world with the Holy Spirit, and then you achieve the goal of this Course. But if you still want to hold on to this idea of personal choice, it will torment you. Because dream figures don't have choice. Dream figures are projections of the ego. The ego peopled the world. The ego made time and space. It peopled the world, Jesus tells us. And when you take responsibility for the dream character having choice, then you're accepting a responsibility and even a possibility that's not there. So this is all very, very, very deep, because even the first officer sees that you can see it in his face, in his eyes. He is bothered. He's saying, knowing what's going to happen in Borath and to my life as Pike, It takes all the fun out of trying to imagine it. And Jesus is saying, yeah, don't even try to imagine what your future will be. Leave it to me. And come with me right now into a change of the way you look at the world. And that will bring you happiness. That will bring you peace. That will bring you joy. We were just in here the other day for the portals talk, and I was that the day I played No Future. That's the song we led off with, and then we closed with One Love. No Future and One Love. And those songs really get at what this is teaching here. This is really showing us this is the teachings of the Course. So as long as you're identified with the role, there's going to be trials, tribulations, temptations, struggles, and conflicts. And then the Spirit is like saying, there's another way. Stay open. Just stay open. Maybe you don't know what it is right now, she's like saying, but just stay open. There's another way. So that's the Spirit. Uh-oh. Save the planet. Just take the comet out. Uh-oh. Did you see it kind of light up like some kind of a grid as they're all watching their photon? Ooh. There was some assumptions there and little cockiness. We've got a planet to save. Let's do it before lunch. Let's save the planet. It's like, and then humbleness strikes as they fire the photon, and then the comet doesn't blow up. It just kind of lights up like some kind of a grid. Or maybe I have some comet assumptions going on there. You see, that's what it is at the monastery too. Every time you're doing something and you start to think, I'm not happy, then there's an assumption operating underneath that I'm not happy feeling, and you've taken something for granted about the climate, the environment, the people, the monastery, something. It's the same as this comet. So, and then you have this moment like they're all watching now on screen, going, uh-oh. we thought we were taking out a comet to save the day for this planet, and it's not behaving like a comet. So there's your composition. They're sending those 4. It's interesting, they're sending 3 that are really dedicated to Starfleet and are following orders, and there's the cadet who's already said she's not so sure she identifies with Starfleet. She speaks 37 languages, and her captain has said, I hope you find the environment where you feel at home. You see how open-minded, and this is who he's sending, is these 4. Now, that's important too, because when you go into A Course in Miracles, when you get to lesson 135, workbook lesson, which is the longest lesson in the workbook, and Jesus says, you cannot understand the problem that the plan was made to solve. You cannot understand the means by which it is achieved. You're starting to get a sense that Jesus is basically saying the only way you're going to forgive this world is through inner guidance. It's not going to work through diagnosing a problem like they're doing. First they thought it was a comet. They were going to shoot it and break it apart. Now it has a force field. It's not a comet. So their whole diagnosis shifts. Now they're sending an away crew to go land on the surface to explore what it is. But Jesus is saying, you're not going to be able to understand this course without letting go of all your preconceptions of what it means to understand everything. Because everything that you think you understand is based on the past. And the past was invented by the ego to keep you from knowing the truth. So that's why all the problem-solving mechanisms. You can probably see that here, even at the monastery, where you're going through the day and your problem-solving mechanisms are not always working. You're telling people, listen, I know what I'm doing. I'm experienced with this. You're the newbie. I'm the one who knows and you don't. So listen. And when it's based on past learning, there is nothing there. It's just pride to be undone, because the ego invented the past and it invented the future. So this is a path in, like all mystical traditions, of emptying the mind, letting the onion be peeled of everything you think and think you know, and learning to go through the path of trust. Faith is expanded by the Holy Spirit's use of the symbols. Faith is expanded, but not by the ego's use. If you keep trying to play the linear game, that's just attempting to hold on to a personal identity. So I like that she's going along with open eyes. She's been selected for the mission, and of all of them, we've got the woman in the red. She's the tough one. She's tough. She says, when you guys get over it, follow me. She's like tough as steel. And then you've got the other ones, and Spock's going along. So you have tough as steel woman, and Spock is totally rational. Even the woman who's giving him the thing that will help when they get there on the surface and everything, she's trying to flirt with Spock. And she knows that, she said, I'm just toying with you, and he doesn't even understand what toying with me means. He doesn't know what toying means. So, and she says, I know. I've been around you enough, I know. So she's just playfully doing it for herself, for her own enjoyment, because she knows with Spock, there's nothing there. So this is good, because this is the mix that now they're sending to what they thought was a comet, and now they know it's not a comet, but they don't know what it is. So this shows you, this is how the spiritual journey goes. You're going on a journey without distance, and everything the past has taught you in your mind will only block you and inhibit you from experiencing the goal, which is the holy instant, the present moment. Everything else is just an inhibitor. That's why he says to learn this course requires willingness to question every value that you hold. Not one can be kept hidden, or it will obscure your learning. So Jesus knows this is like way down the rabbit hole, but you have to have such willingness to have your faith expanded and have your I know mind based on the past just power washed every day, just rinsed. And that's what they're going to go through now, really, the whole crew, but here we have the away crew. Okay, what's the lesson here? If you don't know what something is, be humble. Don't go, Yahtzee! You don't even know what you're on, and you find a shiny egg, and it lights up when you get close to it. Yahtzee! Shh. Now, this is on your spiritual journey. Have some humbleness. Have some humbleness. Don't. Jesus says, don't try to step ahead of truth. Always walk a step behind the truth. It's a version of the workbook lesson. I will step back and let him lead the way. Always, always, always just be curious, be open, be humble, be in that state of show me, lead me, guide me, show the way. Because you see, as soon as he goes, Yahtzee, and Spock's like, I am familiar with the game of Yahtzee. I do not see what relevancy that has, Yahtzee is when you roll the dice and all the dice, come up. It's a game, but you can't go at anything with this belief that you know what it is. The Yahtzee was kind of like, when somebody wins the Yahtzee game, you go Yahtzee, and the game is over. This is not the time to be calling Yahtzee. When you're on it, you don't even know what you're on. You don't even know what it is. And then we can see as they beamed them in, now they're trying to beam them out. Now the shields are up. And there's some kind of intelligence that is behind the shields. It's the shields are only up for a specific reason. And we know from our experience with the ego and this world that you only put shields up if you're defending against something or you're trying to protect something. But they don't even know what this is. So how are they going to know why the shields go up or why they go down? And Jesus is telling us the same thing. He's done. Don't analyze the ego. Don't study the ego, and don't think that you can figure out why the ego puts its shields up. It will put its shields up to protect itself. But your responsibility is to unplug your mind from the ego and don't feed it. Because what good will it do to study? Like Jesus pokes fun at the phrase ego dynamics, because he knows, how can something that doesn't even exist have dynamics? He was like talking about, what are the dynamics of nothing? So Jesus is saying, you need to follow me very humbly, very carefully, because you're not going to escape from ego defense mechanisms by trying to understand them. Don't try to understand projection, just stop it. Don't try to understand denial, just stop it. With my help, be unprotected, be defenseless, be meek. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth, he said 2,000 years ago. So as we move along in this episode, you can see there's something to learn from every step. And the first thing is they don't understand what they're dealing with, and they don't understand why the shields are up sometimes and not up other times. And they really don't have a clue what's happening and what's going on. And as long as they try to use their past learning to determine it, it's going to be frustrating, because the whole point of the whole experience is to undo the belief in the past. Okay. When your intention is to fire, that's where your mind, if you believe you can do something helpful by firing and destroying or breaking something apart, that is an intention in the mind. And then before they can even fire, they get hit. And then they go, who hit us? And then look at that. That's a lot bigger. That doesn't even look like a comet. That's like the ego in your mind going, good. We're in the fight mode now. Let's just have it a fair fight. So that's a good teaching there about it's only through defenselessness that we proceed forward. And the captain, he's open-minded, but he said, I need solutions. I have to rescue a planet, and I have to now rescue my crew. So he's operating still in the assumption of trying to save a planet and save people. What does Jesus say about saving in the Course? He says, only the mind can be salvaged. So only the mind can be saved. You can let go, save the whales, save Mother Earth, save anything in the world. Only the mind can be saved, and it's only saved through peace. So he's giving the what and the how in one sentence. You see how simple this is? It starts to make spiritual awakening much clearer. If the only thing that needs to be saved is the sleeping mind, and it's only saved through peace. It's never a save through attack. It's never a save through destruction. That's why Jesus said, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. He explained himself in the Course where he says the meek will overtake it with their strength, meaning the strength of their mind. by their defenselessness, by their meekness, will overcome perception and find the vision of Christ and wake up to eternity through the meekness, through that. So again, Captain Pike, he's just saying, he's asking his crew. It's different from a lot of the earlier Star Treks where basically the captain just had to kind of do whatever he felt was right and best, and occasionally would ask for some input. But this guy is like always asking for input. Okay, what are we going to do? He's like very open. And then when they say something that's somewhat reasonable, he's good, let's do it. But this time it's even interrupted. Before they could even fire on this thing that they don't know what it is, it's their hit. So that's another good example of it's all in the mind. Okay, there's the I don't know mind coming. You can see it on his face like, never expected that. On screen. What? And so basically this Mahahit, whatever it's called, he's saying, so we're not supposed to mess with the comet. It's not a comet. It's far more than a comet that you're messing with here. And so it's basically saying back off. Now that back off instruction is coming, or we will destroy you. Like there's something very important in this thing that you don't even understand. It's beyond your level of intelligence, but we're the protectors. So back off or we'll destroy you. And basically he's got the look like, now what? Before he didn't know. Now it's like, now what? Because it's still the past programming that he's got to save the planet and save the crew. The only thing is, where does he get save the planet is because he's relying on the computer projection that whatever this thing is, it's going to hit the planet in the future. You see, it's a hypothetical. And then the second thing he wants is he's got to rescue his crew members because he's the captain of them, and the captain is the great protector of the crew, defend the crew at everything. So this, you could say that this is starting to be more direct inroads to the self-concept, because whenever we believe we have to save something other than the sleeping mind, and it's achieved through anything other than peace, then we have a misdirected what, and we have a misdirected how. And the what of spiritual enlightenment is the mind, and the how is through peace and forgiveness. That's all the Course is teaching us. It's teaching us the what and the how, but it's saying you must practice this with everything you think, say, and do every day. It's not, you can't just say the magic words, the mind, forgiveness. You have to actually apply that to all the thoughts that cross consciousness. So she goes back to her childhood days, and she did the same thing she did when she went to the captain's party. Now she's examining all the different markings and everything, and she's humming. And this is what our next online retreat's about. Miracles are involuntary. They're trying to solve this in a very analytical way, and nothing is working, and she just starts humming a nice happy tune from her childhood. Yeah, that's how it goes. What's one of Kirsten's favorite things to do at the monastery? Sing. Perhaps the cadet will be moved involuntarily by the Spirit to the most unlikely thing, to the most unanalytical thing you could do, which is just singing from your heart. You see how the answer has to come through you, and you have to let it come through without judging it. Because if you judge it, you fall back into the analysis. And they're all looking at her like, are you going to get us out of here, or are you going to get us killed? No pressure, just solve the problem, and then the spirit just starts to come through her with the humming. So they need to communicate about this. The shields came down through the music, and then as soon as he got them out, he was back in the old, rescue the crew, now let's get back to business. Get the torpedoes ready. You see how quick the ego, even after a miracle, wants to come back with the attack and defense. It's the default program of the sleeping mind. It's just the default program. So that just shows that as you go deeper, you have to develop the faith. You have to start to feel the value of deepening in faith in the unseen. You can't keep putting credence and belief in what the five senses are showing, because remember, the ego projected the world to keep you from going inside and going into that stillness, into that divine light. So if you keep looking to the world, or you keep going with the old programs, then it just seems to be back to attack and defense. So at this point, we might just say this is an old Star Trek premise. Shields up, defense, fire the weapons, and that's all just playing out a belief in one thing, and that is the belief in an external enemy. The ego belief system is what's beneath every trial and conflict. It's not the world. The world's just the cloaking device. Like the Klingons always had great cloaking devices in Star Trek. Well, this world, the projected world, including the body, is part of the cloaking device. So if you put all your care and concern to the body, you're actually putting your mind's attention to the cloaking device that was made by the ego to keep you from knowing who you are. So here we go. Let's see what the crew's going to go, what they're going to do, because obviously this old programming is not solving anything. See what happens when these divine ideas come in, everyone. Have you ever done that here at the monastery? You get a guidance. This damn listen, follow. And the people are crazy. You see the look on the faces. What if we didn't try to move the comet? Because obviously the captains, we have to save the planet. That's the problem, is believing you have to save something in time and space. Save the whales, save the snails, save the ecosystem, save the planet from global warming, save the starving children in Africa, save whatever it is, save the monastery, whatever it is. If your goal is to save something in time and space, then you have forgotten the simple teachings of Jesus, that the only thing that needs to be saved is the sleeping mind, and it's only saved through peace. That's the what and the how. You see how simple it is. One sentence in the Course, he gives the what and the how. And then any attempt to deviate from that sentence is absurd. And to use what the guy said, one of the protector angels, whatever. So here Spock has an idea, because his captain still wants to save the planet, but he's saying, what if the comet, they're still calling it a comet, they still haven't got that yet, but what if it moves itself? And what does that do? But that idea from Spock is actually going against the original projections of the computer. Remember, the computer was projecting that the comet would hit the planet. And Spock was the one who was delivering that, but now he's had interactions with this thing and through music, and he's saying, what if the comet moved itself? And again, the reason they're all giving him the look like, what are you on about, is because they still have past comet ideas in their minds. Comets streaking through the sky, not comets that can choose to move in a different direction or whatever. And that's why it's stretching. This is all like stretching, opening to the miracle. So, it seems like Spock had an idea. He followed his guidance. He followed his intuition. He did what he felt he needed to do, and then the planet, the thing that they think is a comet, seemed to shift its orbit. And you could see the Captain Pike is like, It's as if something has worked out to help them. Now, this is the human condition. Even when you follow your guidance, and you think you do something good, and you think it's do something that's going to bless the whole, that you've done personally, the only problem with that is that it's all part of a pre-arranged plan in which the script is already written, and that you are doing absolutely nothing because there is no tiny you to do anything. So, it is, even when you follow the guidance and you think you're personally doing something, personally you're making your contribution to the great overall plan, that when Helen Schuckman, when she was just getting her visions and dreams at the beginning, she was pretty disturbed about this inner voice. This is a Course in Miracles, please take notes. For a research psychologist, that's pretty mind-blowing. They usually lock people up and drug them if they hear inner voices saying this is a Course in Miracles. But she was told the world is worsening at an alarming extent, and people are being called from all over to accept their part in a pre-arranged plan. This is what the scribe hears back in 1965. Now Jesus is saying, all you're doing when you follow the guidance, it seems like you're a person that's hearing the guidance, and it's a person doing it, but there's actually no person doing anything because the script is written and it's all part of a pre-arranged plan. Nobody's doing anything, positive or negative. We did a whole retreat called Undoing the Doer, right? Coming to the present moment means you have to let go of the concept of being the doer. Even miracle worker is just a concept. Even teacher of God is just a concept. Spock gets this intuitive idea. They say, let's go for it. First thing was they tried to evade being shot down, and then they tried to hide, kind of like in the Matrix, where they try to hide from the sentinel, park the Nebuchadnezzar where it can't be found by the sentinels. That's the step. And then Spock goes to do what he feels internally guided to do, and then they all go, wow, the comet has changed its course. Where's Spock? Ha 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 ha. The rational one who never laughs is laughing. Ha 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 ha. And they're all like, what? Is that Spock? And he says, sometimes when things go so bad, the only thing to do and laugh. So what he thought he was doing, he still judged as going so bad. And he was laughing because somehow the planet still moved, or the comet, they're calling the comet moved, and he was just bursting into laughter. Mr. Logic is bursting into laughter. That's a miracle. So now we're going to see the deepest teachings of the Course. Because of course, to the captain, he's thinking we did the right thing and we saved the day. But what if it's deeper than that?
Unless your flight was foretold.
Oh, unless your flight was foretold. unless the script was written all along and you were just observing what had already happened with no hope of analyzing things breaking off or hitting comets or spewing water. Perhaps the script was written. There she is, number one. Perhaps it was foretold. You see, if you start to apply the script is written in your life, you see what happiness you will feel. You see, you can just put your full attention on your state of mind and on watching your thoughts and take it off of what seems to be the world, the script. You can give your full attention, like the live broadcast I did, like Micah and Amanda are doing now. You can put your full attention on God, your full attention on your inner guidance, and take your attention away from the form. Because what if it was preordained, she's saying? What if it was already meant to happen? And you can see that Pike and Spock are like stunned, because where would there be any analysis if everything is preordained? You see, there's no analysis. You just can watch calmly with everything. Everything that you believed before that you were doing, positively or negatively, you weren't. You were just watching preordained script, the deepest teachings from A Course in Miracles. She is in our community, Andrea Lopez. I took that as a sign. She just commented on my live today before I came in there. I looked, who's posting? Andrea Lopez. Thank you so much, Andrea Lopez. That's a little touch from the Spirit. He's naming all the cadets that, he's so concerned about their future and his future, but his first officer, number one, is saying, nope, what if we make our own fate? And what if that premonition from the future was just a message coming through? Like all premonitions they're just messages. They aren't determining anything. Because why would you rely on something from the future when Jesus says the past is gone, the future is but imagined? These, past and future, are but defenses against present change of focus. That's it. The past and future are just defenses against present change of focus. Changing your mind about your mind. Changing your purpose from ego to Holy Spirit. Changing your focus. That's where the mind training is. That's what all the spiritual practices and disciplines in all the monasteries and convents throughout history, all of the mind training is all focused on change of focus. And then you can get a deeper sense of like, okay, that's what this is all about. It's just about change of focus in my mind. It's not really about the outcomes in form. That's it. Lights. Deep stuff. Yeah. This is the stuff that we long to be in contact with and long to hear in our mind. Because this is where Jesus calls it the simplicity of salvation is. Takes away all the effort of trying to change the world. Make the world a better place. Okay, well we have... Bobby has the microphone. Bobby's looking at me like, what? What'd I do? Microphone. Oh yeah, microphone. If anybody has anything you want to talk about.
Yeah, this episode and this whole teaching is like so spot on for me at the moment. It's I so want to embrace that, like, that the script is written without guilt. It's like when I came to this community 2 years ago, I was so there. I was like so much. I was in a full yes, and I had so much trust, and I was like, I could hand everything over. I could hand the children over, and it turned out really miraculous, and it still does. But there's like how you always say about handing over this deck of cards. I did it. I handed it full over, and now I want those 2 cards of my children. I want them back. It's like I'm losing trust. It's like and I know I'll be seeing them in 2 months, but it's like ego screaming in my ear, like, this might be the last time you see them. They might turn against you. So it's like this whole, and you can still change course now. You can go back to them. You can, and there's absolutely nothing. They're so good with me being here. So I know it's all in my mind. It's like, it's what I'm making out of it. But it's this clinging to the guilt, and it's like Kirsten said a few days ago, like, if you have one hook into this world, the whole world comes with it. And it's my hook, and I don't know how to unhook it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. You don't know how to unhook it, and you don't need to know how. Like when Jesus says that the mind is the only thing that needs to be saved, and it's only saved through peace. That's your prayer. You're just praying for peace. But it's not your function to be the how. That's the Holy Spirit's function. And the pain comes when you think, oh, Yiska has to bear the burden on the shoulders of finally saying yes to figuring out the how. And it's torturous because you can't know the how. You can just pray for the how. You're praying for the miracle. And even this series I'm doing on Saturdays, it's so good. It's such a spectacular teaching device that just your time here is just, this was another step. Then Saturday you'll get to watch. It's just, that's your prayer. Show me, show me, show me. Take this from me. Take this from me. And that's an amazing series that we're doing in the next 3 Saturdays too, which then you can just open your heart and say, okay, I'm giving the prayer of show me. Now you're going to have to lift the burden from me. Kind of like in Pilgrim's Progress, where he's carrying this big boulder on his back, and he just keeps praying and praying and praying for it to be lifted. And that's how it goes. I think it's interesting just showing the first 2 episodes of that Another Self series. If you could be a fly on the wall, and you could hear the people that are contacting me and calling in, and they all have the same aversion of what you're talking about, where there's something that they just are afraid to look at or afraid to face, and they all call with this desperate kind of feeling like, I can't do this. This is so intense. And I'm just saying to them the same thing, where we join together, and then like it will be revealed. It's a certainty. It will show up in a way that you can smile, and you can feel the joy and the laughter with it. You can accept it in some way. One friend of mine, she wasn't even on the commentary, the thing I was doing, but she did see what I was doing, so she went in and she watched the first episode, and she just wrote me a message saying, this is intense, and this is confrontive. She used those 2 words, this is intense and confrontive. And then I immediately knew that she had watched episode 1 because she's been diagnosed with cancer. And she watched episode 1, and Zaman said to the Sergi, can you thank the cancer? And as soon as she saw that part, she was like, oh no, I can't thank the cancer. What have I done wrong? I've done family constellations before. Did I do it wrong? Did I not do it well enough? Da 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 da. You see, it was still going into the personal self. What did little mini me do wrong? Did I miss a step? And da da da. So she wrote kind of a desperate message. But by the time I got back to her the next day, we were just rejoicing in the miracle. And she actually had some kind of a turnaround where she just was laughing with me when we finally had our video call, and she said, I can join you right now. I can do that. And I can feel the lightness of joining you right now and the laughter. And she did. She was laughing. And so it was more of a transcendence of that, just that old belief, like, did I make a mistake? Did I do something wrong? Did I do something damaging? Did I do something that I'll regret? Those are the old record. That's just the past thoughts that the ego is trying to use to keep you from being happy. So, yeah, I join you in that. I know that just your faith will carry you, and it will come in some form, in some way. This series, I'm just really grateful to be able to show it, because I've seen it myself, so I know how helpful of a device it is. Yeah, the way everything gets used for the pop. There's got to be a pop at some point. Yeah, it's there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it was great how what seemed to be the comet was like the comet and the planet were a focus, and then when they first were told that this Mahatma was the bringer of life, which in Course terms is being used for miracles throughout the universe, how they were just, the captain was just like, yeah, these are no angels, these are like zealots. He interpreted that wisdom as being zealots, being dangerous, extremely dangerous and arrogant. But it's always a projection. Whenever we perceive something as being arrogant, then it's just the ego calling something arrogant, because it's trying to, again, hide itself in the mind, hide the belief, and see the protectors as arrogant, or the Mahatma is arrogant, and and then when he was content to still push ahead with an agenda, he said, well, you have your you have your sacred mission, and we have ours. In other words, fire up the weapons, we have our sacred mission. And it's like, how is weapons? What does that have to do with a sacred mission? If the mission is to forgive, is harmony, is unity, is peace, then you can start to see the weapons. You can throw the word sacred mission in there, but if even to go around and save planets or save species. But Star Trek itself, going to explore new realms, new places, and even the prime directive of Star Trek, everything you can look at, it still comes back to it's really a journey without distance. It's the real pilgrimage is inside your mind. You're taking a pilgrimage in the mind to the light. It's not an external pilgrimage, even though sometimes we like to think the movements of the body are important. But they're all part of a prearranged plan. They're just part of the script. There's nothing really important about the location of bodies and the overall thing. if the final realization is I am everywhere, then what did the bodies have to do with that realization? Nothing. It just had to be a prayer in the mind. Show me that I am everywhere. Show me that I never can miss or be missed because I am everywhere. That's the prayer of the heart. But it's so transcendent to the thought system of the world.
Hi, David.
Hi.
Something that comes to my mind a lot, like you talk about how people are thoughts, like they represent thoughts in the mind. And something that I've struggled with is, like I feel like as I followed the course of like let go of a lot of my relationships, like as far as like what the outcome is going to be. But like I say that on one hand, but I still like I feel like responsible. Like if I fulfilled my function better, people I see wouldn't be suffering. Like my mother doesn't, like she has memory problems, so she doesn't even remember me anymore sometimes. And she was someone I was very, very close with, and was a major, you know, connection for me. And like my dad died this year, and like I felt like I hadn't like forgiven him, you know, even though like on the external level our relationship was good, you know, it wasn't perfect or anything. But it was good. We were close, and I've always been close to my mom. And my brother right now is in the throes of addiction, and he's, you know, he's, you know, really severely addicted and damaging himself. So like I feel like you were talking about feeling responsible. Like I feel confused because on the one hand, you know, I feel like I have like learned to let go as much as I can and not like Captain Kirk there. He's always trying to interfere with things because he thinks he knows what's best. Like, trust not your good intentions, for they are not enough. That was the thought that came to my head. And, you know, I understand, like, a lot of times I think I know how things are supposed to work out. And it creates like an arrogance in me because I think I have an idea in my mind. Like, I think, like, you know, in the back of my mind, I think everything should be okay here. If my mind is healed and that's the cause, then I should feel healing here. And like my mom should not have lost her mind, and my father shouldn't have died, and then my brother shouldn't be addicted. Like I should, like these relationships should be healed. And so I have like a sense of it's almost like I feel responsible, like I haven't fulfilled my function properly and I'm causing suffering to people. And you know, so it kind of creates like a sense of failure, like um of having, you know. Like I feel like I've failed, like I've been given an opportunity. And I failed it. And like I feel like with my dad, I wasn't able to forgive him totally. Like a lot of stuff would still come up, and like I love him so much, and now he's gone, and I can't, like, I don't have that opportunity. Like I feel like I failed, and you know, it's a deep sense of like having been given an opportunity with Jesus, and you know, understood. I felt like I understood what he was teaching me, and like I feel like I failed, you know, and now I can't get that back. So it brings up a strong sense of like having, you know, like I don't know how to explain it. So you know, that's kind of like
Yeah, yeah.
saying.
It's very similar to what Yiska was talking about. Even this series that I'm doing on Saturdays is really kind of focused on what Zaman is calling the family of origin, because it's the ones you're thinking about. Like Yiska thinking about her children, you're thinking about your dad, your mom, your brother. You see, it's the family of origin seemingly in this world where a lot of the hurts, the pains, the grievances, the sense of failure and loss And that's exactly why that we're going through that Saturday session, because you can see it in the session with relationships, partnerships, best friends, with parents, and even the flashbacks about a grandma or grandfather or great-grandmother, in the case of Leela, her great-grandmother being clubbed in the back of the neck and then pushed into the water and drowning, and still Layla having hesitation to go in the water. Generations later, it's kind of like what they sometimes call the butterfly effect, about how everything is connected in ways that are way beyond what can be perceived through this ego filter. Everything is intimately connected. And so that's why forgiveness is so important. So, when you work with the Course, as you have, Paul, you give your heart, you've given your heart to it, and then the Spirit's just smiling, watching every step you're taking, saying, good, good, good. You've been able to now talk the talk. Now comes the walk. You're going from the talk to the walk, which means even praying to be shown a new interpretation of all the relationships, those dear ones and beloved ones. You're just asking that to be lifted, like to be lit up. And that's now the journey, to have that lit up. You talk about, like, with your mother and losing your mind. I remember in the early days with the Course, I would be praying, listening, following the guidance and everything, and my grandmother, who I'd interacted with for many, many years, eventually she moved in the story of Parable of David with my parents, and then she had a great fall. Before she moved in with the parents, she fell, and then when she moved in with my mom and dad, wow, the frictions and intensity got even more intense. Particularly with my father, biological father, he was just climbing the walls. It was just so intense. And then eventually she was put in a nursing home, and I remember practicing the Course and going in one day and pushing her around through the halls of the nursing home, and this character David was no different than any of the other characters. She was just getting pushed around for probably like an hour or an hour and a half or something. And then at one point she was legally blind. She was probably maybe in her 90s, and then I was pushing her around, and then she just turned and she went, "Dave, is that you?" After like an hour and a half. I was just enjoying that we don't really have our connection in terms of the bodies and time. We have this deep love that's within. And then when she said, "Dave, is that you?" I thought, wow, she's just made a little recognition point, which I felt was with us all along, whether she was here when she passed away, whether she was aware, could know it was her grandson Dave pushing her, or just anyone in the thing pushing her. Because I was aware that I was everyone and anyone, so I was able to enjoy that. I'd never thought of it as her losing her mind, even though she was diagnosed with dementia. I thought she was gaining the whole universe. I'd walk in there sometimes to the nursing home and I'd go, where is everybody? This is like ghost town. And I'd go walking down the halls, where is everybody? So I'm like, so I'm looking around, finally I go walking through the whole place, check out the whole place, and I go into the cafeteria, and they're all in, and she's leading them, legally blind. She's leading them in some Bible song. The whole place, the doctors, nurses, everybody. Look, where is everybody? They're all in with Lillian singing. She couldn't even remember who she had breakfast with. She started to forget everything about her past. And yet she was singing with the whole group. They were all in with her singing. You see, so all that's part of a reinterpretation, like, no, Spirit's saying, no, Paul, job well done. There's nothing that has been lost. There's nothing missing. You're just going now deeper into the transfer of training, into really walking the walk. You're right on target. You're right on plan for everything. Just stay with it. Keep your faith with this thing, because it's only the ego that tries to paint things in regrets. Oh, I wish I'd done this different, or I could have done this, or I didn't heal this, and somehow the ego is trying to say we blew our chances. But we haven't blown any chances, because salvation's for the mind and it's attained through peace. And we're right on the mark with it. That's what a blessing to start to just take that in. Like, okay, I'm just going to be guided to heal my mind. And when my mind is healed, all minds are healed. Like Jesus says in the workbook, everyone will arise when I arise. So it's just back to that, oh yes, that's where I want to keep my focus. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah. Well, it feels good. That was beautiful. Yeah, lovely, lovely, lovely. Well, thank you, everyone. That was beautiful. What a beautiful morning and early afternoon. Did a spontaneous live, and now we hit our own little live session.